freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 460 of Gun Freedom Radio, where we engage, we educate, and we inform. We are brought to you by azfirearmsauctions.com, where you set the price on guns, ammo, and accessories. I am one of your hosts, Cheryl Todd.
And I'm the other guy, Dan Todd. Our theme today is using art to impact culture, and our guest is Gabe Eltaeb. Gabe is a proud American comic book artist and writer, and the owner of Big Man Comics. Gabe understands the impact that storytelling has on our American culture, and that as the culture goes, there also goes politics, legislation, and laws.
Welcome to the show, Gabe.
Thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. This is so exciting for me. I personally am not a huge comic book reader, but I absolutely love, well, I don't know why, to be honest, because my son-in-law loves it. He loves that kind of art. And I love the superhero genre because they're just people like us, but they've been given special powers, but with special powers comes responsibility, right? And so there's always those moral struggles that they go through, and they're almost beaten, but they rise back up. I love the whole thing.
Right.
And you have a similar story, I feel, because you left a career with DC. Is it DC Comics?
Yeah, it was DC Comics. That's Warner Brothers. I worked for all the companies, but I mainly worked for DC. So I worked for Disney, and I worked on, if you've heard of it, I've worked on it. So like Transformers and G.I. Joe and Superman, Batman, Black Panther, Spider-Man. I've done all of these professionally for the better part of 20 something years. I've been a professional artist for like 24 years. I'm 46. So, you do the math there. I started about when I was 21, 22 years old.
And, you think, gosh, you've made it to Disney and DC Comics. You've made it to the pinnacle.
Right.
And you said, I am stepping away. I am creating my own brand, and I want you to kind of tell folks, of how that happened. What caused you to make such a huge change like that?
Well, I'll try to tell my life story as an artist as succinctly as I can. I always liked to draw. I don't remember when I started. I would draw in the back of my grandparents' restaurant when I was 3 years old. I would draw Star Wars space battles. And I saw comic books when I was 13 at my friend's house. I always knew what they were, but I didn't have any money for them. And then I started mowing yards when I was 12, so I made a little bit of money every week. And I saw these new comics, and there was a brand new X-Men #1 by Jim Lee, who's now a vice president at DC Comics. And he's probably the most influential artist of the last 30 years. And his X-Men #1, when they relaunched the 1960s book in 1992, it still holds the record for the most selling comic of all time. It was over 8 million copies sold. Oh, wow. And I decided in that moment I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be Jim Lee. I wanted to work for him. Long story short, I practiced drawing, go to college, this, that, and the other, get jobs, being an artist, little jobs. Jim Lee, my favorite artist, hires me in 2007 to work at his studio in California. So I was born in California, grew up there in San Diego, where Jim Lee's studio was. Went to Colorado. I was born in Colorado. Sorry. Went back to Colorado for college as an adult. And then he hired me back, and we came back to California in the beginning of 2008. So I worked for DC Comics on all that. That's Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, all those characters. And it was a dream come true. And that was January 2nd, 2008. I started there. And it wasn't crazy and, social justice woke stuff at first, really. I mean, it was still Hollywood. But I was able to deal with what we worked with. I didn't find it morally objectionable for the most part. But I think in like Obama's second term, everyone felt everything turned. 2012, 2013. Amen. That's when the nonsense really hit the overdrive of the pronouns and all the confusing kids about their ideologies and all this weird, everybody's a racist now and all this stuff. And it just got weirder and weirder and weirder over time. But the books I was working on were fairly normal, big mainstream books, Batman, Superman. But I noticed DC Comics publishing more and more filth and more divisive social justice kind of things. And eventually, and it'll be 3 years ago in October, I got so excited. They said, hey, we got a new assignment. We're going to relaunch a Superman book. It'll be Superman, Lois Lane, and their son, Jonathan Kent. And one of the main focuses of the book is Jonathan Kent is gay or bisexual. And oh, he's underage. So we're going to focus on that because that's a good thing to be doing comics about is whether gay or straight, I don't care. The sex lives of underage people, no thank you. And then, oh, Superman doesn't say truth, justice, and American way anymore. That's stupid and old. It's truth, justice, in a better world. So I quit. I went and talked to my dad and I said, hey, listen, I don't want to do this. This is not right. It bothers me spiritually, morally, everything. My dad said, don't quit, finish your contract, because I would be on 6-month renewable contracts for years with them. So just resign peacefully, be nice to them and, thankful. I did that. They wrote me all these emails. Oh, we love you. Thank you. Good luck in whatever you're doing now. And then I was on a podcast and I spoke out about it. I said it was disgusting to me what they're doing to this stuff. They can't make up new characters that have a fan following and are popular. What they have to do is what socialists and communists always do. is they jump on something that already has quality and fandom, and then they stick their ugly message on it. Because if they were to just create something from whole cloth that had their ugly message, nobody would buy it or watch it. So they said, well, Batman's popular. Let's make him a communist weirdo something. And then inevitably the sales go down and goes out of business. Let me take a sip of water. Sorry, a lot of talking.
You're fine.
I quit and it went viral. I was global news for about 3 days in October. Getting phone calls and emails from news organizations all over the world who want to interview me, and all my social media, jumped up a bunch. My YouTube channel, I had 500 followers. Then it jumped up to 6,000 in like 2 days. Everyone to know, oh my gosh, this guy's speaking out. And I feel like, I always tell my wife, I didn't think it was a big deal. Like, oh, you spoke out against this stuff. And it's like, well, if DC Comics asked me, and they didn't ask me to do this, but if they asked me to break the law or sell drugs or something like that, I would say no, because it's wrong. It's immoral. Well, they're asking me to make filthy books, underage sex lives of kids, but also the racism that's always like cried about. If I make books that at DC and all that talk about bigotry, oh, the bigoted Americans, then I'm actually being bad to minorities and gay people and immigrants, because what I'm telling them is you can't succeed. The white man's going to get you. You'll never succeed. Well, why would you try then if I convinced you couldn't succeed? Right? So the power of story, this has been studied at universities. I think the CIA did studies on this going back to the 50s, that narrative is the most powerful form of persuasion. It goes to your subconscious instantly. You understand stories when they're executed well by great authors, artists, actors, singers, poets, whatever the artist is. It penetrates through your consciousness, the awake mind, into the deepest parts of your subconscious, the amygdala, that's the fight, flight, or freeze part of the brain. This is a scientific fact. If I'm a good artist and I tell you a story, your subconscious will not know it isn't true. It's why you jump in a movie when there's a monster. Your conscious brain knows that you're staring at a TV screen. Your subconscious brain doesn't. You are convinced that stories are true if the storytellers are quality artists. And this is a thing that infuriates me at Republicans and conservatives pretty much my whole life. They hand wave the arts. I grew up in a house, I hate to say, kind of like that. Hollywood's dirty, movies are dirty, music is dirty. So we didn't watch any of it growing up. And I thank God for that. But I have to backtrack here. I was encouraged to be an artist by both my mom and my dad. When I told them I want to be a comic book artist, my dad's only advice to me was, well, make sure you own the characters so you make the money. You know what I mean? My mom never discouraged me from being an artist. So I would say, but most of the other conservatives I've ever talked to, they don't want anything to do with Hollywood or art because we're better than them. They're filthy, degenerate liberals in Hollywood. That's a stupid opinion, and it's very short-sighted and emotional. You're ceding the ground to them in the culture war. Artists are not inherently left-wing. That's the thing that people believe and just say now. No, the right-wing people left out of, I don't know what, cowardice or a tantrum or whatever. They left the arts. But art has always been conservative. When you look at antiquity, we find old pottery, we find old paintings, hundreds, thousands of years old. What is that art always doing? It's celebrating its culture, which is an inherently conservative thing. When you see a beautiful painting, my favorite Renaissance painting by Jacques-Louis David is The Oath of the Herati. You can look it up, maybe pop it on the screen when you play this. It's 3 Roman sons swearing allegiance to their father to fight and die for their region. It's conservative. Like, yes, Father, thank you for this world. Thank you for this life. We will pledge our lives to it. It's a beautiful painting by Jacques-Louis David, The Oath of the Herati. It's an old Roman folk tale or whatever. But art has always been conservative when it celebrates the life and the achievements of its people. We only have this postmodern era in the last 100 years or so where it's like, what if dad was wrong about everything and the kids were right? That's basically the message of the left. And it's the message of Satan. It really is. Because Satan was like, there's no master, there's no God, there's no one above me. I decide my truth, my feelings, my pleasure. And when you look at modern art and storytelling, that's what most of the stuff from Disney and Warner Brothers, all these companies, is telling people. And the problem with that is they're very good artists. They're very good writers. They're very good actors, singers, dancers, and they're spreading an evil message. And to go back to my earlier point, when the artists are good at what they do, the message penetrates. I told you, Cheryl, on the phone the other day, persuasion is like alcohol. It works on you whether you know it or not. I can tell you what I'm about to tell you is persuasion. It'll still persuade you. I don't need to hide it. You can look at a glass of booze and say, well, I know it's vodka. You can't trick me and drink it. I won't get drunk because I know it doesn't work that way. Persuasion works whether you know it's persuasion or not. So when I'm a good artist and a good storyteller, I will persuade you. Politics is downstream from culture. So when you have Homer Simpson and Archie Bunker and Al Bundy being fathers for years, you are being persuaded that dads are idiots. They don't know anything. You don't need to listen to them. You're right, kids. Dad's wrong. You don't need to go to bed on time. You don't have to listen. Do whatever you want. That is persuasive. It isn't just entertainment. There's a reason. If you study the communists, they have this concept called the long march through the institutions. And it's a multi-decade, a centuries-long plan to infiltrate the government, higher education, the churches, and entertainment, because they know that's where the stories and the narratives are being told. And if you can capture people's minds, you can control them. If I convince you something is true, you will act on it, right? The Bible says faith without works is dead. We act on what we believe. I sit down in a chair without checking it because I have faith that my chair is sturdy and won't crumble. I don't sit there and pat my chair. Oh, is this gonna? I just have faith that my chair is quality. I act on what I believe. If I believe all kinds of awful feminist, communist, postmodern things from watching The Simpsons, I thank God my mom and dad didn't let me watch any of this stuff growing up. We had like 10 VHS tapes, and it was the 3 original Star Wars, which are wholesome. It was like 2 Indiana Jones movies, the Blues Brothers. We had like 10 movies. And they were wholesome, uplifting movies. And that's what we watched over and over and over. We didn't have cable TV. No secular music was allowed. So I didn't get brainwashed for 30 years growing up. And I think the right is foolish and immature and just spiteful about the arts. They're like, we're not going to play. And it's like, okay, well, then it's going to get worse.
Gabe,
And
you are
that's your
scaring
choice.
me.
You don't get to create a new choice where we're like, no, we won't play and somehow it'll get better. That's not how this is going to work. Sorry,
That's
I'm
true.
just going and going.
It's okay, but
awesome.
you're actually scaring me because you're so right. And I never thought of it like that, and it is terrifying.
Can I ask you why? Because I was encouraged to be an artist by my conservative parents, but no conservatives I know embrace the arts. Now, you said just now, I've never thought of it like that. Why? Where does this come from on the conservative side? They don't see It's a Wonderful Life, right? Frank Capra.
Love it.
Jimmy Stewart. That is how Hollywood should look still. It should have stayed that way. It got subverted in the 50s. Why do conservatives like you, why don't you think of it this way? Where did it get lost for you?
I think, well,
with just life. I mean, everything that people are feeding us, what the movies we see, I don't want to watch any more movies.
I think we can drink the vodka and not get drunk.
Right.
I think that's what has been going on, is like we can be in the world but not of the world, right?
No.
And I am very much like the conversation we had on the phone. It's been in my mind ever since, that I really think that we have deluded ourselves, which again, you talked about the fall of Satan, right? He went against dad, right? Tried to make dad wrong. And I think that, Satan is at play here. I think we're in a spiritual war like I've never experienced in my life. And we are being whispered. Our ears are being filled with, no, you can do it. You can watch this garbage and this filth. You're not going to get drunk.
I don't even know you, Cheryl. And I took you to task on the phone. I said, why do you have Disney Plus? Why do you have Netflix? I don't have those things. I'm not giving a penny to people who hate me like that.
I just
need to be the standard.
Right. I do. And I'm seeing how the politicians are talking and how the mob is listening to them and believing them when we know this outright lies. And you think, how are they getting fed this? How are they believing this information? I have got to do some hard thinking here.
Well,
I
the
really
reason it's
appreciate.
believable is because the people telling the lies are great storytellers. Stories don't have to be true to be believed. They just have to feel true. Facts do not matter in persuasion. If you're arguing with someone and you bust out the facts and the charts, they don't care because they don't feel that way. There's college studies, I don't have it handy, but real university studies of neuroscience of the brain. I believe, I'm not a neuroscientist, but it was some sort of waves, delta waves or something, kind of blocking the decision-making centers of the brain, or the emotional centers of the brain. And when you do that to people, they can't make decisions. There's no such thing as a rational decision in a human being. You can look this up yourself. All decisions are emotional. All of them, always. Tying your shoes is an emotional decision because you have the emotion of, I don't want to look sloppy. I don't want to trip. I don't want my shoes to fall off. Those are emotions. Every decision is emotional. The point of being a man and a grown woman is to emotionally regulate. You have emotions, it's fine. You can't control having them, but you can control how you react to them. That's where the glory is, to overcome your emotions. I feel angry, but I'm not going to go cuss that guy out.
Yeah.
I'll feel angry and I'll deal with it in a good way. You know what I mean? So,
Well, Gabe, could I ask you? I mean, I need to switch gears here for a second because I mean, you went from working for some major companies to starting your own company called Big Man Comics.
yeah.
And I'm just curious, do you have any artwork or something I could see? And
Yeah.
just kind of tell me what messages are you trying to deliver to
Well,
your audience?
Nice.
I will email you guys some pages and covers from my books. But the first book I put out was Truth, Justice, American Way. It was they're kind of analogs for Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. It was classic patriotic superheroes. But as a comic book artist and writer, I'm not interested in superheroes as much as I am all genre fiction. And I really like James Bond and stuff. So I became very good friends with Superman actor Dean Cain. And I became friends with Tyrus, the host on Fox News, and Matthew Marsden. They're all entertainers that are outspoken conservatives. We're all friends. And I'm doing comic books with Tyrus, like an Incredible Hulk style comic, The Unstoppable Tyrus. But the book I put out last year, and I'm working on a sequel, is Dean Cain, All American Lawman. And it's basically like a James Bond, Indiana Jones. Dean and I, he's in his late 50s. I'm in my mid 40s, but we have the same sensibility of loving 80s and 90s action movies, like an Indiana Jones and things like that. So we made one where he's like this man of action, not CIA or special forces, but he's just kind of an independent guy. And there's no cussing, there's no gore, there's no sex, but it's thrilling. And he goes on international adventure and he's taken down a huge cartel, and it's really fun. And it feels the way the original Star Wars and the original Indiana Jones felt. Meaning, when I say there's no cussing or gore for sex, you don't need that to feel like it's for adults.
Yeah.
In fact, putting those titillating things in there is frankly immature. That's for middle school boys, like goofing off like idiots. So when they say something's mature, I was like, it's immature, actually, if you need that. You know what I mean? The dirty jokes are actually very immature. They're not sophisticated. So mine is completely thrilling. You think, oh, is this for kids? Like, it's safe for kids to read. You can hand this to a 7, 8-year-old and not have to worry about anything they'll see in here. But you can hand it to a 70-year-old and they will be fully engaged and thrilled to read it. We sold a ton of these. I still have some left. I still have a few left of the first printing. We're working on a sequel called The Hong Kong Connection, and that'll be a really fun one. He travels to Southeast Asia. I have another book called Empyrean. It's a sci-fi book, and I'll send you the covers for all these, and you can pop them into the video if you'd like. And Empyrean is like my take on Star Wars and Interstellar and sci-fi. But it's a husband and wife trying to set these people free. They're all slaves of this dictator on his horrible world, and there's a lost paradise that the wife has discovered. She's a scientist, like an archaeologist, kind of space archaeologist. And the dictator doesn't want anyone to know they can live free and away from under his boot heel. And it's a story about love and perseverance and freedom and opening your eyes against, dictators and false messages. And then I have The Unstoppable Tyrus. That's an action adventure like the Incredible Hulk with like mutants from like Ninja Turtle kind of thing, human animal hybrids, really fun rock'em sock'em story. And that's about overcoming yourself as a person. In the Tyrus story, the one person that's always ruined his life is him, with the lack of self-control, and he has to overcome that. And then we have Jericho Green and the Hammerheads. It's like Scooby-Doo and Goonies and Stranger Things. It's 4 teenage boys in the 90s in the Bay Area, and it's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers meets They Live, meets Scooby-Doo. All the adults and teachers and PE coaches, they're slowly being replaced by like weird doppelgangers, and only the kids know and nobody believes them, and they have to like figure it out and save the day. So I have stuff in all kinds of genres. I don't want to just do superheroes. I think that's a big misconception that comic books have. People think comic books are superheroes. Comic
Mm-hmm.
book is just a medium. That would be like saying all movies are Westerns.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, no, movies can be any genre. And comic books, they're just a storytelling medium. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud to do them. And really, as an American, I'm proud. Comic books, I don't know if you guys know this, it's an original American art form. It was invented here 100 years ago, back in the 20s in America. You know, they do
didn't.
great comic books in Europe. They do amazing comic books in Japan, you know, but it came from here. And it's a shame that Marvel and DC are in shambles. Their sales are as low as they've been.
Mm.
You know, they've lowered their page rates at those companies. They pay people at Marvel and DC what they paid them in the 90s. I'm not even kidding. I know
Wow.
it for a fact because I worked there. I worked for them for almost 15 years, never got a bump in my page rate because they
Wow.
just don't make enough money. The books don't sell because everything is pink-haired, social justice, white
Mm-hmm.
people are racist, America sucks. And the main demographic that buys comic books in America, superhero books, is like white men in their 30s, 40s, 50s. And all Marvel and DC have decided to do is just insult their customers and call them racist. So, you know, go out of business, I guess. I don't know. When you buy stuff from me, it's beautiful. It's of the highest quality. It comes out when I say it's going to come out. It's not late. And it's the most uplifting, entertaining stuff you'll read. My first goal is to entertain. I'm not going to bash you over the head and say liberals and Democrats are evil. I don't do that. We play it straight. It's fun. It's objective. And the morals are there. But I'm a good enough writer that it's never going to feel like preaching. The first Dean Cain All-American Lawman, the theme of the book is stated. There's a story that I took from real life in the very beginning where his son is in a volleyball tournament. And his son was one of the backup players, but he has to play in the game as a starter because one of the other starters is very sick. He's in the hospital from an overdose. And he argues with his dad the night before the game. I don't want to play. I don't want to go. We're going to lose because of me. And his dad's like, no, you have to do it. You have to be strong. And he tells his son, the main character, the Dean Cain character, to be a man and serve God, you got to do the right thing no matter how terrifying it is. And then that comes up for him later as a secret agent when he's in real life and death trouble. He has to face that and do the right thing no matter how terrifying it is. And they end up winning the volleyball game and this and that. And that happened to me when I was a little boy. I was on a soccer team, but I was one of the younger players. My mom was the coach. And thankfully, she wasn't one of those coaches that just let her boys be the starting players. I was not a starting player, but the goalie got injured. And she told me I had to be the goalie the next day because I was one of the bigger kids. I have really long arms. And I cried. I said, I won't do it. If we lose, it'll be all my fault.
Mm.
And we played the next day and I stopped every goal and we won the game.
Oh.
So those kind of encouraging messages from parents of like, no, you're going to be afraid and you're going to do it anyway. Because that's what being a man is you have the fear and do it anyway. It's a thing I never forgot. So I put it into the story to like have the small lesson in Act 1 where the Dean Cain character tells his own son that, and then he has to face it in real life, staring down the barrel of guns and stuff and stopping dangerous criminals. So that was the theme of the first book. You know what I mean? Is to do what's right, no matter how what it costs you. And I think for myself, when I had to leave DC Comics, I was a superstar for them. They loved me. I made 6 figures there easily every year. And I had to walk away from it because I'm not going to help them make books like that. And I remember praying about it. You know, I said, well, God, don't let me fall here. And this is the power of story that I told you guys about. In Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade from 1989, Sean Connery, Harrison Ford. Do you remember this one?
Love that one.
There's a scene in the final part where they're finding the Holy Grail, where he has to step out into the canyon. That's the thing. It's the leap of faith. And there's that invisible rock bridge.
Yes.
And I would picture that moment in my head leaving DC Comics, that I have to step out into the unknown because I can't do the wrong thing, but I don't know what's going to happen, but I trust God enough. So that's the power story that a movie I saw, 30 years ago, I still would remember it and reflect on how well it was written and filmed and acted. And that's why we need to make good art. And conservatives need to do 2 things. They need to get their wallets out and support people like me and buy it. They have to, or you're going to lose your culture. Oh, you just want money. No, I have to live to do a business. Secondarily, you need to make it yourself if you can. Now, you can't just be an artist or writer today. It takes a decade at least to get artistic skill to a pro level, at least. What you need to do is raise kids in the arts. If you're already an adult, raise them. They need to go act and sing and dance and draw. Arts are not stupid. They're not left-wing. They're the most, they are culture. It's the most important part of culture is art. It really is. It's how we understand what we are and what we believe. It's how we reinforce our beliefs as who we are as people. My friend, actor Matthew Marston, great guy. He was in Rambo 5, Rambo 4, Transformers. He was in the Oscar-winning movie Black Hawk Down. He can't get a job in mainstream Hollywood now because he was outspoken about the lockdowns and all that stuff. And he's a very religious man. He's a Catholic with 9 children. Wonderful guy, very good friend of mine. We met on Twitter because he saw me speaking out against Warner Brothers and all that. And he says what I say constantly, that he is so frustrated with conservatives shutting their wallets and no, art, we want nothing to do with it. It's like, well, that's the biggest reason we're in the mess we're in. It really is. It really is. The biggest cultural reason is abandoning the arts from the right wing.
So are you in a position that you can hire other artists who share your values?
Yes, yeah, I am. I have the guy that drew the Dean Cain All-American Lawman book. I'm not drawing that. I wrote it, I colored it, I did the word balloons, I designed it. But I have a friend drawing it. He worked for Disney as an animator for years. He's about almost 10 years older. Amazing artist, you know. And then I'm drawing 2 of the other books. He's drawing 2, but I'm looking to hire more people to expand. But I'm expanding carefully. I'm not being silly about it. And because some people, you know, they get some money, they get some success, which we've had at my company, and then they throw the money in the air. We need to buy a company Lamborghini, and everyone gets sushi for lunch. I'm like, and we're gonna do 30 books and hire every artist we know. Like, just, you know, careful.
All right. Well, we're conservative for a reason, right?
Well,
like
I do it as
the way we spend.
Yeah, as fast and careful. So I balance careful with this because I want to make as much as I can. My goal is to be like Walt Disney. He was an American. He loved this country. And when Disney did it right, nobody has done it better when they made family entertainment. And one of the most amazing places to me is Disneyland. I built so many model airplanes and dioramas as a kid. I just love creating worlds. It's like, it's why I like comics. I'm going to be writing novels too, but I want to make my own theme parks, my own attractions. I want all of it, but I know you have to have steady, focused growth. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm up to. I want the whole thing to, there's no way to stop Marvel and DC. I don't want to. They can put themselves out of business. I just want to outcompete them. And I know I have the skill to do it, you know, so it just takes time, but it takes support. So if you're watching this and you're listening to this right now, you have to go to bigmancomics.com and you have to buy comics from me. You will love them. It'll be the best thing you've read in ages. It'll be the best action movie you've seen. Even though it's a book, it's an 80s, 90s action movie. You will absolutely love it. We have t-shirts and everything there, and we just have lots of books coming. You know what I mean? And eventually we do want to do animation. We want to do films, all of it. Because again, I'm not going to stop Disney from making trash. I'll just make better stuff.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. You'll compete in the open market.
So Gabe, have you so we can go directly to bigmancomics.com and order. Have you considered selling some of your art, your original art?
Yeah, but to me, there's not as much money in that as selling books to the like printed. Like you could sell your art, but if I do one piece of art, that takes like a day or 2 to draw 1 page, right? Like a full pencil ink, like an 11 by 17, like a big sheet like this. It's going to take a day or 2 to work on. And let's say you sell it for, you know, $2,000, $3,000. That's great. That's nice. But that's a drop in the bucket to when you start selling books and you're selling tens of thousands of copies. Right. You know what I mean? So to me, it's like, it's economies of scale. It's like, yes, a Big Mac is $4, but we sell 10 million a day. So that's the way, as a businessman, that's the way I look at it. Like, and also I'm very sentimental about my art. I don't sell my original art. I will sell commissions. If someone says, hey, I'll hire you to draw Batman, then I'll sell that. But my art, that's for me and my kids and my grandkids. I'm not.
So you keep all your original art that
I have it since I was a kid. It fills the house. I have it in drawers and boxes.
That is awesome.
It's very sentimental to me. Some artists part with all of it, and I can't understand that. It doesn't make any sense to me. Jim Lee, my artist hero from when I was 13, he bought back a Wolverine cover that he sold like 30 years ago and did some touch-ups on it because the ink had faded. This was just like last month I saw it. But he bought it for, you know, he could have bought a new car for what he paid or something that I'm sure he sold for $700 25 years ago. And now he's paying, you know, $10,000, $20,000 of his own money to buy his own art back. I don't like the idea of selling my original art. I don't do it. I never have. So
right. And keeping it in the family is a wonderful thing because it teaches kids traditions. And I mean, it's awesome that you're keeping it in the family.
Absolutely.
Well,
how many
go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to ask how many kids you have.
3 kids. I have a granddaughter too. She's 21 months old.
Oh, congratulations. So you've got to have lots of art to divide by at least 4, right? For the next generation.
Yeah.
I interrupted you, I think. What were you going to say?
I don't remember. I was going to say
Gone
something. It's
now.
all right.
I'm
It's all
like
right. We
that.
can move on to whatever.
So I guess I want to just labor this one point, again, from my perspective. I don't know that I have ever felt as a conservative, like, the arts are bad or dumb or anything. I was a singer growing up. I was sang at school. I sang in the church choir. I thought for a minute maybe that would be my path in life. And there's so much that I learned from the experience of, stage presence and, so many other things. But what I can speak to is that, especially when I was younger, Christian movies they were just low grade and dorky, you
Right,
know?
because they don't have the culture of raising people in the arts. Again, I started drawing when I was 3, at least. Who knows, maybe earlier. And I didn't get hired by DC Comics till I was 29. Takes a long time to be world
Yes.
class.
Yes.
I've been writing my whole life, and I didn't get hired to professionally write until I was 21, and then DC Comics didn't have me write anything until 4 years ago. So I'd
Oh,
be
wow.
like 42 when I wrote for them. The
Oh,
first
wow.
thing I wrote after begging them to write for years. When you work for them, they keep you in your lane. Like, oh, if you color comics, you color. If you pencil, you pencil. If you write, you write. Blah, blah, blah. Don't ask to do other things. It's really weird. It's really stupid of them too.
Mm-hmm.
They finally let me write something, and they sent it to HBO to make a TV show out of it. We didn't get the deal, but I had an 18-month first look deal with them on the first thing I wrote. And it's like, I told you guys I could write, by the way, because I was a visual artist for them. So, but no, it takes a lifetime of this. That's why I say you have to start raising the next generation, because the left owns the ground, and you also have to make your own institutions now, because DC and Warner Brothers, Marvel, Disney, all of them, they're controlled by leftists. Again, the long march through the institutions. This is a detailed, well-executed plan by the communists. Go look it up. I didn't make this up.
No, you
it's
didn't.
a multi-generational spiritual warfare of, if we control the persuasion, which is the news and the art, then we control the minds.
You're exactly
I'll tell you,
right.
your dad is Archie Bunker. And they're like, yeah. And it's well written. It's well written to make Archie Bunker look stupid and intolerant, and Meathead's the genius. Look at how sinister that is.
Yeah.
It's right in front of your face,
true.
and you're sitting there watching it and laughing. Again, I thank God I was raised in a family where, like, turn that off. That's trash. My mom turned off Scooby-Doo because there was like a devil ghost in it. Like, I was not allowed. If you eat trash, how healthy are you going to be?
Exactly.
Right. No,
If you
I can see
your
it.
spirit trash, how's your spirit going to look? Okay.
I can see how younger people speak to older people now because of all that. Hey, you're going September 27th in San Diego. We have the Amm-Con thing coming up, and I'm going to actually get to meet you because that's awesome. And I have another reason to be excited to go. What are you going to be speaking on?
Same topic, how art and culture influences your gun rights. It's like the propaganda is just out there. And if you don't see it for what it is, well, then you're gonna, it's like the frog in the pot, the water's starting to boil a little bit more. And like, by the time you know it, it's too late.
Yeah.
And if you think they're not brainwashing the lower and lower generations, and then those people get old enough to vote, and you've been busy off doing your own thing and letting these kids watch TikTok all day and all this stuff, I would encourage you to investigate what all that is, parents out there, what that is. It's brainwashing 24/7. That's all it is.
So let me ask you this, and then we do need to wrap up for time. But the hero in almost every big summer blockbuster movie saves the day by using what? A firearm. So how has the other side been so successful at vilifying the firearm when we're always waiting for the hero to show up and save the day with that exact same tool?
Because we've taken the father out of society since the late 50s. The post-World War II is when the counterculture started. It really blossomed in the 60s. And then you get the ones I always hammer on. You get your Archie Bunker, your Homer Simpson, you get all that. And then you get no-fault divorce. Worst thing Ronald Reagan ever did. I know everyone worships him, but no-fault divorce, that was him. You blame it for what it is. You destroy the family union. You destroy everything. You learn, why do we speak English? Because our parents spoke English, right? You can extrapolate that on top of everything. Why do I speak kindness? Why do I speak discipline? Why do I act in these ways? Because it was shown to me by my mother and father. And there's scientific research that shows this. Fathers can do a thing for children and do a thing that mothers cannot do.
Mm-hmm.
Fathers cannot breastfeed. Mothers cannot give their children self-esteem. They can't do it. And it's not a strike at women. It's a difference in the design of our minds.
Mm-hmm.
Only your father can say, no, we're not like that. You're better than that. We can do this. You can do it. You can do it. And then the kid does it. They overcome the fear. They overcome the lack of discipline. And you have a man put his hand on your shoulder and tell you, that's right. That's a good job. You know, you got blood on you, but you're okay, right? See, right? And it's just something that men's brains are wired for that women are not. And I think a woman carries a child for 9 months. They breastfeed, all this stuff. Of course, they love the children in a different, nurturing way. The mother's there for the immediate, after the birth, being a little baby, a little taller. The father's, hey, let's go into the real world. I'm taking you to the forest. We're going to do some hunting. We'll come back. We'll be men when we come back. That's gone. We have a phrase in our culture, toxic masculinity. It's a bigoted phrase. It just means being a man is wrong. They have pathologized the concept of being a man. And then you wonder why everything masculine is put down.
It's true.
Well, everything we have in the world, I'm sorry, was discovered and built and maintained by men, not women. Your water, your electrical, your inventions, this is stuff done by men. There's nothing wrong with women. They are equal to men, but they are a mirror image. God made us to complement each other, right? It's my right and left hands. They're the exact same thing, but they're reversed. That's how men and women are. So by taking the men out of culture and saying that being a man, thinking like a man, acting like a man is wrong, Archie Bunker, wrong, Homer Simpson. This is how story works. We legalize divorce. You can do better than him, girl. He's making you wash his underwear and make his dinner and blah, blah, blah. You're a servant to your husband. You know how you're not a servant? Go work for your boss for 70 hours a week. Now you're free. Really?
Yeah.
Put your kids in daycare.
It's pretty twisted. Yeah.
Right. Put your kids in daycare with an overworked daycare worker that cannot love them the way you do. Move 1,000 miles away from the grandmother so they can't help watch the kids. You could go chase some money and some job. The family has been destroyed. And in physics, they have the universal field theory, right? That's what they want to create. They want to connect electromagnetism, gravity, time, space, all the great forces of the universe. They want to have a math equation that describes it all at once. I say there's a unified field theory of fathers. Every single problem in culture is because of the lack of fathers. We don't live. Patriarchy does not mean rule by men. It means rule by fathers. It's like, oh, well, men are mean and they hate women. No, go to a graveyard, any military graveyard. You'll see exactly how men feel about women. And you know this. You're the husband. How would you feel to die for your wife and kids if you had to? You're like, fine. If you tell me they'll live if I die, if bad guys get me and they get away, hey, sign me up. I'm fine with that. And women are not that way. And that's not a criticism. They're not supposed to be that way. And we've destroyed the difference between men and women with all these horrible stories.
And, you know, the female side of it, you know, we've been denigrated if we like being a helpmate.
Oh, well, you're just a stupid housewife.
Right. Exactly. I mean, Dan has been the dreamer our whole 40 years of marriage. And I say that he's the kite and I hold the string. Right. Of course. Because if I let go of the string, then all that energy is just, gonna play itself out. But if I hold the string with skill and with grace and with love, then that kite can do a beautiful dance, right? It can do some amazing and artistic things. And there's nothing denigrating about what I'm doing because one needs the other.
Right. But 50, 60 years of expert storytelling told you that being a traditional woman was stupid and wrong and degrading. Right. And they were expert storytellers that told us that, and that's why women believe it. Wow. My wife, I liken it to a shield maiden. Like I'm a warrior. I go into battle. I get stabbed, shot, beat up. You beat guys up. You come home bloody and hungry. Patches your wounds, helps fix your shield, helps get the bumps out of your armor. Nice. You go do it again the next day. Beautiful. But you don't take her on the battlefield. That's stupidity. She'll get killed. Yeah. And she's not supposed to. You go fight. You go do whatever. You come home. She patches you up. You go back. That is the complementary, the mirror images of each other.
You remember Harrison Ford? It hurts right here.
Right. Exactly. Absolutely.
Right.
And again, that's fantastic storytelling to show that dynamic. And again, in my book, Dean Cain, All-American Lawman, he meets up with the former girlfriend of the cartel he's trying to take down because she hates the cartel too, because what her former boyfriend's the boss of that. And she's spunky and kind of like a Princess Leia, like a spunky woman, but she's not like, get out of the way to him. And like, I know I'm a girl boss and you're a dumb guy. They complement each other. You know,
Nice.
she's feminine in her way and he's masculine in his way. And that's such a fun dynamic when you have your
Beautiful.
Princess Leia and your Han Solo and things like that. And Romancing the Stone with
Yes. We
Kathleen
love that.
Turner and Michael Douglas. That dynamic between the two that was really what this story was based on, the feeling of that. It's not the same story, but it feels like
Yeah.
that relationship. So
Awesome.
I think, yeah, I could go on about this forever, but I think the main thing is men being afraid to be men. I've been told for the last 3 years since I spoke out against Warner Brothers, I'll close on this because I know that we're for time, that speaking out is so brave and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, really? Because they asked me to do horrible things. Like, why would I do it? But now that the time has gone by, I was like, oh, it is just me and Matthew Marston and just a few people willing, because I get private messages and direct messages from people I work with in comics. Oh, I'm so glad you did what you did. I hate what they're doing. And then I see them, they just keep working there.
Yeah.
It's like, you coward, you take the money for the filth.
Right.
Wow.
You know?
Good for
Gabe,
you.
I am going to bigmancomics.com and I'm going to order some books and I'm going to bring
Sounds
them to
good.
San Diego. Will you sign them for me?
Of course.
Awesome.
Love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. We do need to get out of here. We've got to have you back on again because this is a
Okay.
good
Yeah.
shot of encouragement for me, some wind under my wings. Gabe Eltaeb, please tell folks how they can follow the work you're doing, support the work you're doing, and get their own series of Big Man comics.
Okay. Well, if you care about any of this and you understand what I said, if you understand what I said, then you have to care. Right?
I agree.
So you follow me everywhere on social media. I just use my name because it's completely unique. I'm literally the only person in the world with this name because it's an anglicized spelling of an Arabic last name. It's Beetle spelled backwards like the band. It's Eltaeb, means servant of God in Arabic. And so it's Gabe Eltaeb everywhere on social media. My Twitter X handle is Big Man Comics, but it's still Gabe Eltaeb, Big Man Comics. But then your YouTube, Instagram, Facebook is just Gabe Eltaeb. And then you go to bigmancomics.com. You can get Dean Cain, All-American Lawman. We still have some copies left, about 200 or 300. We had thousands, but I mean, they sold really well for us. And then we have t-shirts there. We have books coming. There's info on that. New books coming in 2025. But if you care about this, we need your support. But you're not just giving money. You're going to be entertained. You're going to love this. I'm good at what I do, and I love what I do. And the passion's there, and you'll see it when you read these things. So yeah, follow me everywhere. We need your support on social media. We cannot stop them. We can only compete with them, and we can beat them together, and you can keep your country. Or you can let them have entertainment and continue to lose it. Choice is yours.
Choice is ours. Thank you again so much for all you do. Gabe Eltaeb, God bless. We will see you in San Diego very soon.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Gabe. Bye-bye.
Wow.
You
How
know,
awesome was that?
He could also be a good counselor.
He could. When I got off the phone with him the other day, I said, we need more pastors who speak like him, right?
Mhm.
Like, why are you, that whole in the world, but not of the world? We are too much of the world and trying to pander and trying to, equivocate. And, he says it so clearly, nothing wrong with drinking vodka, but if you're drinking the vodka and not thinking that it's going to impact you in any way, you're wrong.
Right.
You drink water, it impacts you, right? It hydrates you. So, I just absolutely love the fact that I got to meet him, that he came on our show, and that we will get to meet him in person again, the Amm-Con event. So what that is, every year the Second Amendment Foundation puts on the Gun Rights Policy Conference. It moves around to different states. So this year it's in San Diego, where Gabe lives, and it is over the weekend of September 27th. The Friday, so GRPC, Gun Rights Policy, is the Saturday, Sunday. The Friday is Amm-Con. That's where Second Amendment media people of any kind, whether you're a journalist, a photojournalist, whether you do podcasts like we do, whatever, we meet together, we do some workshopping, we do a ton of networking, we encourage each other, we learn from each other. And I've invited Gabe to come and give us his message about using art to impact culture as a way to help us do the work that we do better, all of us in the Second Amendment.
But you don't have to.
Media
You don't
world.
have to be a Second Amendment. You just have to have a podcast or something to communicate.
It's true.
You can come, right?
You absolutely can. And you can go online. It's ammcon.org.
That's AMM-COM. N,
as in
C-O-N.
Nancy.org. And please come out. It is a free event. You have to get your own travel and hotel room, but it's a free event. And then gun rights policy on the weekend is at saf.org. That's a free event. They even feed us there. So be sure and check that out, and come with your big man comic, right? Buy a couple, come, and when you chat Gabe up, he said he would sign them. So we'll hold it to that. But anyway, amazing interview. This has been one of my favorites, I think, of all the amazing people we get to talk to. What an interesting story that Gabe has and challenges to us. All right. So thank you, Gabe Eltaeb. Thank you to all of our amazing viewers and listeners all over the planet. I want to also talk about lockedingrip.com. This is made by some good friends of ours, Brian and Shelley Hill of The Complete Combatant. They're, all-star American people as well. This is a liquid shooting sports chalk for safer, faster shooting, no slip traction. Lockedingrip.com. Again, keeping with that Americana theme, made in America, supporting our values. When you buy American, it supports American jobs on American soil, right? Buying American made products. And we are inviting you to this invitation only shopping club, patriothousehold.com/GFR. Stop spending your money with companies that try to diminish our freedoms, just exactly like Gabe Eltaeb said. When you go to patriothousehold.com/GFR, you're supporting the Second Amendment Foundation that puts on the Gun Rights Policy Conference and Amm-Con. And we get a tiny piece of every dollar you spend as well here at Gun Freedom Radio to continue to do the work we do. I mean, we're talking your laundry soap, your skincare, your delicious snacks, even beef products, roast steaks, hamburger products, ground beef products. You can shop online as you need items or set your order and forget it, which is what I do in my busy life. And it shows up on your doorstep. It's convenient, it's quality, it's easy, it's amazing. patriothousehold.com/GFR. And we have got to get on out of here. Wow, what an amazing message and amazing show. If you want to go back and rewatch it or share it with your friends, then you can go to YouTube, Gunstreamer, the Ops Lens smartphone app. And when you go to those sites, please be sure that you like it, that you share it, that you subscribe to our channel, and that you hit the notifications button, because that tells those platforms under no uncertain terms that you value this. Just like going to Big Man Comics and buying his work, that shows with your dollars you are valuing and supporting the work. So please do that on those platforms. It's so important. We've been stuck at the same number on Facebook and YouTube of number of subscribers and followers for years, literally years. I don't believe it. So if we flood them with new likes and shares and all of that, I think that it kind of has to force their hand a little bit. Also, if you want to listen to the audio only version of this show, go to our website, gunfreedomradio.com, click the on demand tab, and
binge listen to your heart's content, darling.
And also, if you want to see the photos, the bios, the links to all of our guests, including Gabe Eltaeb, go to the guest tab. It is an ever-growing database of subject matter experts. And when you spend time there, we don't hate that. All right, until next time, we are going to
pray for our nation.
We are going to
pray for our politicians
and our leaders, even the ones we don't like. Maybe especially the ones we don't like, right, Dan?
What?
Non-committal. All right. And until next time, we're going to be good to each other. Please be good to each other. Have a great week, and God bless.
Bye-bye.